All right, here we are for our October edition of the Kenworth Northeast Trading Academy. And this month we are on the line with Tom McDermott from ATRO. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how to get the most out of your suspension. So in addition to Tom, there's myself, Melinda McCullough, the Director of Marketing at Kenworth Northeast. Excited to bring you the series of trainings. So as we go through this year and into next year, you'll see that we do have a lineup of classes. After today's in November, you can join us for Road Warrior. And in January, Milton Cat will be joining us for a session. And throughout the year, going into June, we've got a lineup. You'll be able to find more information if you visit us at kenworthne.com. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get started with today's presentation. Again, we're here with Tom from ATRO.
All right, thank you, Melinda. Appreciate the opportunity. As Melinda said, today we're going to talk specifically about the torque rod, but we'll also give you a little more information about what ATRO, who we are and what we do. So for today's presentation, we're going to talk about the importance of the torque rod, but a little background info on ATRO. We are located in St. Clair, Missouri. That's where our manufacturing plant and distribution center is. So proud to be an American-made product. We also have a shipping warehouse in Baltimore that we can support the stores and your customers with. That warehouse is a fully functioning warehouse stocking our A, B, and C movers. Another thing that ATRO is very proud about, last year, earlier this summer, we were awarded with the Supplier of the Year Award for 2021. So great thanks to all the support that we get and what we had to offer. We're both in the PDC and the direct ship program. On the direct ship, your orders will come out of that Baltimore warehouse if it's stocked there, making it probably 1 or 2 days away for you. And then also on the PDC, you guys can pull product from there as well. I think one of the biggest reasons why we were able to win that coveted award last year was being in the U.S. We didn't have nearly the supply chain issues that a lot of companies did. And we've been able to build inventory. We've been very fortunate that way that we actually have some product on the shelf ready to go, and we can be a little more nimble with our manufacturing process and make sure we're making the products that you guys need today. With ATRO, we're definitely a premium product, but we also stand behind our product. Most of our items have a 3-year warranty. Our 2 years on our small eye torque rods, which we'll discuss later in the presentation. And with that, our products are going to last 2 to 5 times longer than the rubber products that are out there. So for today's purpose, we're definitely going to concentrate on the torque rod, but ATRO has a full line that covers the truck bumper to bumper. We have suspension components for all the major suspensions out there in the marketplace. We have a very extensive line of underhood and cab products that you'll see. We do hood latches, hood pins, cab mounts, engine mounts, and then with a lot of our underhood stuff, you will see we do a lot of kitting. So you're going to get both the upper and the lower part and all the hardware that comes with our kits. I kind of call that our one click, one pick. It's one click for the counter person to find the part for you. And then it's one pick for the warehouse. And then the fleet customer is going to get everything they need in one box, all neatly packaged. So you'll notice blue is our primary color. That's just the food coloring that we put in the product to make it look nice. We do black on anything that's outside of the truck, like the hood latches and the trailer bumpers you see there. And then the red product is a high temp resistant polyurethane mix that we'll discuss a little bit as well. We have a full line of trailer suspension parts, along with a pretty extensive line of dock bumpers. And then on the drive line, we have some carrier bearings that we'll touch on later. And then we also have some specialty items for refuse on the bodies of the truck that the arms and that where the arms come down and hit the truck, there's a rubber bumper there. We also have pads for the Labrie system. So if there's any refuse out there that have a need for body parts, we are definitely an option. Lastly, Steer King, which is our no-ring kingpin line. This is relatively new for us. We brought this into the mix 3 years ago into ATRO. It's a no ream kingpin line that's been very successful, and we'll touch at that at the end of the presentation here as well. So Atro, if anybody knows us, would they know that we are the polyurethane leader in the marketplace. All our products are made using polyurethane instead of rubber. The best part about polyurethane is it's impervious to all the outside elements that corrode rubber. So your salt brine that goes on the roads in the wintertime, engine oils, grease, hydraulic fluid, anything that truck is carrying, you name it, it's not going to affect the polyurethane like it will rubber. Then again, when we can outlast rubber 2 to 5 times. And then Atro separates themselves from every other polyurethane manufacturer out there. We have 11 different formulas to choose from. So if the rubber is hard, we have a hard recipe to make it. If the rubber is soft, we have a softer recipe to make that part mimic the rubber component of it. Within those 11 recipes, we also have product that can absorb shock, product that can deflect shock, and everything in between. So what our engineers do, we examine the rubber part, we determine how hard or soft it is, and then what function that product needs to perform, and we pick the best recipe for that particular product. So for today's discussion, we're going to talk about torque rods and the importance of the torque rod. The torque rod is possibly one of the most overlooked things on the truck, in our humble opinion, but it also does a ton of work. I mean, these things have been around forever on every truck. They do a lot, but they are, most of the time, we've seen that they're overlooked when trucks come in for maintenance. So why is it important to keep your torque rods in good functioning order? Torque rods are all about alignment and keeping things straight. So if your trucks are having premature tire wear, 70% of this will originate in the drive axles. So if you have loose torque rods and you're seeing tire wear, that's going to reduce that tire wear. So a properly maintained truck with good working torque rods is going to increase the life of your tires. With worn tires comes misalignment. How do they overcome this? They need to push the pedal to the metal, which increases the horsepower of the truck. So again, a properly maintained truck with good working torque rods is going to actually improve your fuel mileage. And then also DOT, when these guys are looking, obviously they're checking brakes and lights, but the other thing they do look for, because they're easily visible and to the naked eye, you can see worn. Torque rods are 7% hit on your CSA. So when you look at brakes are 4 and lighting is 6, a 7-point ding with the DOT guys, if they spot some worn torque rods, that's a big hit. So if we can take care of those before they're worn and before DOT sees them, we can save you some CSA points as well. So what types of torque rods are on a truck? There's basically 3 different types. The first one is your longitudinal rods. These run parallel to the frame. These will limit your axle roll, control the driveline angle, and they maintain the axle alignment. Usually found on both over-the-road and vocational trucks. And these will also come with our rotating bushings that we'll talk about in a little bit. Next type of rod that you'll see is the transverse rods. These control lateral movement and center the axle. These play an integral part of keeping the truck aligned. And then lastly, these rods are becoming more popular, especially on vocational trucks, which is a V-rod. These kind of do the functions of both. You'll find them mostly on heavy-duty dumps, some refuse applications, and some concrete applications as well. Holland New Way has a relatively new system out using this system. There's a Volvo T-Ride out there that uses this system. Mack has come out with their Mack M-Ride, and other V-Rods Currently, right now, we do not have any torque rods for the Mack M-Ride or their other V-Rod applications, as their patent, we can't infringe on their patents they have on those right now. But for the Holland New Way and the Volvo T-Ride, definitely a good option for you if you're having issues with these. These are under a tremendous amount of stress. And basically the wear point is that apex bushing. And what happens with that apex bushing, there's a lot of movement there. Movement creates heat. Heat creates wear on a rubber bushing. At Atro, once again, we use a polyurethane bushing in there. The recipe that we use is a abrasion resistant type, which reduces heat, which is going to increase the lifetime of that bushing. With the apex rod style, a lot of times too, the bushings may be fine, the bar may be fine, but what's happening is that housing that they sit on is getting ripped up because they're under so much stress. So with our system, with our poly, these have been a real nice place for a polyurethane bushing and torque rod with us. So what are the torque rod issues and what solutions does Atro bring to the table? A little best practice for you. You want to inspect your torque rods every 50,000 miles or 6 months on over the road type trucks. Vocational applications, put a lot more stress on torque rods, especially trucks that go off road. So we recommend for vocational trucks, 90-day inspections, and you want to do both a mechanical and a visual test. For the mechanical test, the best thing to do is use a 36-inch pry bar, place it under the torque rod, put pressure upward, and then if you get greater than 1/8 notice, replacement is probably needed. So it doesn't take much play there for a recommended replacement of a torque rod. The biggest problems that bushings within a torque rod occur is a bushing windup. So if we think about what the truck does, truck goes around a corner, your torque rods are keeping everything aligned, and what happens is that pin is moving ever so slightly within that bushing. And every time that pin moves, it tears away at the rubber just a little bit. So, all these little tears and all these little movements add up, and, a bushing is a wear item. So bushing windup is the biggest cause of a torque rod failure. This next slide depicts all the possible failures that a torque rod could go through. All these pictures were taken within a 3-month span of our reps and working with outside salespeople like at the Kenworth dealers. These trucks were in for service for something else, and walking through shops, we found all these different types of failures on torque rods that weren't going to be addressed until one of us pointed them out. So bushing walkout is the most important one. Very rarely you'll break a rod. That's usually pretty severe. Damaged grease seals, dry rot is a big one. On the dry rod, if you see little specks and tears on the outside, it's a sign that the bushing is worn, but it's not a sign that the bushing is completely failed yet. Corrosion to the bars, torn elastomers, if the bushing is starting to peak out on one side, and then of course you have your catastrophic failures every now and then. So what does Atro bring to the table when it comes to bushings? Not only the polyurethane material is going to outlast rubber, but Atro got its start. Atro actually stands for American Torque Rods of Ohio. 33 years ago, what people would do, they would actually UPS us in a rod. We press the old bushing out, press a new bushing in, ship it back to you. Obviously, we've grown into a much bigger company since then. But what George Sturman, the founder of Atro, came up with was when you used to rebush most of your torque rods, when you press that rubber bushing out, if you didn't mark it exactly where that pin position was, pressing the new bushing in was complete guesswork, and getting that torque rod to line up on the truck was probably, you had a better chance of hitting the Powerball than you did getting that thing to line up just right. So George said polyurethane is better than rubber. We're going to use that as our vessel. But also George came up with the idea of using a rotating pin design, which has kind of revolutionized the torque rod industry. Our patents on that ran out a number of years ago. There are other rotating bushings out there now, but we were the originator of that. And what that rotating pin allows you to do is a few huge advantages. Obviously, for the guys that are turning wrenches, it's usually one of those aha moments where, you know, they're frustrated trying to put that rod on, getting it to line up. With the Atro rod, if things aren't lining up for you just right, you're just going to put a screwdriver in one of the eye holes, crank that pin to where you need it to go. So it's going to be a much easier installation for you. You're not putting that bushing and that unit under stress during install. And then once it's on the truck, truck goes around a corner. Like I said in the beginning, that pin is moving on that rubber, where ours is free to move. So that pin will rotate within the bushing. It doesn't stress out the material in there. And then when the truck straightens out, the pin straightens out. So huge advantage on installation. And then we're going to help with the lifetime of the bushing and the torque rod with that rotating pin. So going forward with the different types of rods, 80% of your rods out there have what we call a straddle system. The same bushings on both the left and the right side. Generally, in the past, I used to call the large eye rods the standard eye rods, but quickly those are becoming a little more less obsolete than the small eye rods. So you have a large eye and a small eye. Most of your over-the-road trucks are hedging towards small eye torque rods. They're trying to decrease the weight of the truck, and one way to do that is taking out a couple pounds with the torque rod itself. But what that means is you have a smaller bushing, a smaller rod that's still doing the same amount of work that the large eye ones. So the small eye ones are definitely failing at a faster rate than the large eye. On rubber ones, it's called the jam bushing. So you have just a rubber bushing, no metal outer sleeve, pressed into the rod. So we have bushings that you can rebush the rod with. And for the longest time, people are asking, how come you can't have a small eye rotating bushing? Well, we need a metal sleeve to make that happen. And then we would have to take material out of that small eye rubber, and there wasn't enough material there. So 4 years ago, we developed our own line of complete rods with a small eye bushing. So the bushing is slightly larger than the OE rubber, but it's big enough to allow us to put a metal sleeve around it and the rotating pin design. So you're going to get a lot more life out of our small eye rods with the rotating pin design on these applications. And we're even starting to see small eye rods on some concrete trucks. They're on Terex trucks right now. And the small eye rods on these concrete trucks, we think they're going to wear out really, really quick. And we do have complete rods to handle those. So there's always an exception to the rule, and Kenworth is definitely the exception to that rule with the rotating bushing design. So Kenworth, a number of years ago, threw us a little curveball where they came up with their very popular air glide suspension. And on this air glide suspension, you have the two sway bars underneath. And then the torque rods, instead of being in that transverse or longitudinal design, these form a diamond shape on the frame itself. So there's 4 torque rods there that form a diamond. And you'll notice that instead of the bushing going like in an east-west position, these sit in a north-south position. And when a bushing sits north-south, it needs to kind of oscillate back and forth a little bit. Our original bushing design did not allow for that. So we had to make a special bushing just for these applications, which we did. And what we did is we came up with a complete rod. We used a steel rod instead of the OE aluminum rod. We have, there's 2 sizes, 2 lengths out there for these. Now, when that bushing, the disadvantage is it doesn't rotate. But the advantage is a heavier rod. The other advantage is PACCAR only sells the blank rod and the bushings, and somebody has to press those in. With the Atro 59.41474 or the 59.41008, you're getting a complete rod with the bushings already pressed in. So how do we identify a torque rod? Obviously, when you guys are calling in to Kenworth, the VIN numbers is easy way to identify what torque rod you're going to need. However, if that VIN number isn't available or you're looking at a different application, on the Atro website, we have a really neat tool to help you identify what correct torque rod you need. So you go to the torque rod finder on the website. The first page will bring up the picture of what a torque rod will look like. You click on that. That will bring you to a page with a bunch of different lengths. Then you want to measure the torque rod from center to center. You can do this usually by going from the back of one side of the pin to the front of the other. You do want to be very accurate, as there's usually a new part number for every 1/8 of an inch. But you click the length that you get, and then the third page will bring you to what part number you need there for you. So all you need to know is two things: what the torque rod looks like, how long it is, and we can find a part number for you. And with all our torque rods being made in St. Clair, Missouri, again, we keep a really nice finished inventory. But for those oddball rods or older applications, we have the ability to make any torque rod that you need within a 24, 48-hour period. So if you get that order to us sometime today, that torque rod will be made tomorrow morning and ship tomorrow morning from St. Clair. So probably 3-4 days away, but we can get any torque rod made within a 24 to 48-hour span. Leave it up to any questions. No questions. So that kind of ends torque rods. I know, we touched on a few different things, but just remember with Atro rods, our big thing is the polyurethane material that we use. We have inventory available in our PDC and our satellite warehouses for you. And then the rotating bushing aspect on 99% of our bushings is our huge selling point, and a way that we're going to outlast a rubber rod 2 to 5 times. So just want to touch on a few other items that we have available at Atro. We have a carrier bearing that really shows off the best of Atro. I believe this one's going to be on special for you in November. It's our self-aligning carrier bearing. It has 10 degrees worth of articulation. It has a very heavy-duty housing, a high-quality sealed bearing. And then with the polyurethane material, we talked about recipes in the beginning. It's going to be chemically resistant to any of the oils and the grease and hydraulic fluids and road salts, and all that will not corrode our polyurethane like a rubber. And it is made out of a recipe using a vibration dampening poly. So a great item. Again, we stand behind our products. It comes with a 3-year warranty, which is unprecedented in this type of application. So a real nice unit with a backed up great warranty. Mentioned our under the hood products. Again, you'll see we do a lot of kits, and again, it's hood pins, exhaust mounts, radiator mounts, engine mounts. And then the reason for the red is we noticed a number of years ago when the emissions laws changed, that temperatures underneath the hood went up, and rubber would start to disintegrate and fail and get really gummy. Some of our original blue, after a while, also would start to crumble and crack due to the intense heat under today's engines. So engineering went back and we came up our 11th recipe, which is a high temp resistant formula. Has the same hardness and softness as the original blue, but just can withstand today's higher temperatures within the trucks today. So rubber is going to start to fail at about 200 degrees. Our original blue poly was failing at about 250, 260. And our red can withstand temperatures of 325 to 350 degrees underneath the hood. Also, within this line, with some of the OEs and their back order issues, we've been able to build up product and have product to to help out any backorder issues that have come up with other vendors. Lastly, just want to touch on our Steer King line. As I said in the beginning, this line came in to the Atro family about 3 years ago. George Sturman, the founder of Atro, when he semi-retired from Atro, he went back and decided he doesn't like to golf, fish, do any of that. So he started up a new company called Steer King, which is a no-ream kingpins. We have both the bronze and the steel. And again, not only a quality product, but also a product that we have inventory in. This is going to be a huge growth line for Atro, and we've been able to back it up with product on the shelf for you. So a few unique things that we do within this line. Our thrust bearings come pre-packed with a lithium grease. Lip seals are bi-directional, so you can put these in either way. I know a lot of times these aren't even used, or if they are put in wrong, it doesn't allow the grease to get to where it needs to be. They do come packaged in a nice little plastic case so they don't get damaged in shipping. And so with these little bi-directional seals and the grooves that we put on our pins, you're going to get about 75% more grease on our pins than anybody else's out there. And then lastly, it is all about the product and what the product's going to do. And, we know we have a great product, but also, we like to take things a little further at Atro, and we've come up with a great box as well. You can see on the bottom, we use styrofoam to protect them in shipping. And then on top, we call it our little mechanics tray. So that's a box within a box with compartments to organize and keep all the little components nicely, neatly and packaged. So you don't have this happen when you dump them out of the box. Everything is nice and neat. We do have spare parts available upon request. So just call in the 800 number at Atro. Customer service can walk you through ordering spare parts. So greatly appreciate the opportunity today. Kenworth Northeast has been a great partner for Atro. Look forward to a continued awesome relationship. Anybody at Atro, myself or my counterpart Drake Piper, who's the Steer King product manager, I'll be more than happy to come out and train any of the stores or any of the fleets that are on the line today. We can do suspension clinics, torque rod clinics, Steer King clinics as well. So thank you for the opportunity, and we'll turn it back to Melinda for some closing statements.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Tom. So as a reminder for everyone, if you're interested in checking out some more of these training sessions, you can go to kenworthne.com, where you'll find more information about the Kenworth Northeast Training Academy. Also, if you're interested in purchasing Atro parts, reach out to us and we can connect you with one of our outside sales guys as well to get you lined up with the right solutions for your truck or fleet. All right, thanks everyone. We look forward to seeing you again at a future session.